Do you think you understand America through Hollywood movies? Get ready for a wake-up call.
You cannot tell me that America isn't like the movies, because look at this.
Holy mother of nature. Check out this waterfall in Sequoia. You guys are telling me you have this on your doorstep in California?
Americans, I'm in California right now, exploring your national parks, exploring your beauty, and we owe you an apology in Europe.
For the past 50 years, Hollywood and the mass media have brainwashed the world into thinking that America is just cramped New York, smog-filled Los Angeles, or the gambling dens of Las Vegas. But why do they deliberately hide their craft so well? The truth is, America has never been a simple nation. It is a subcontinent pretending to be a nation. Today, we will decode the astonishing cinematic disillusionment journey of Western tourists, exploring 5 parallel lands that are wildly crazy and that they never thought existed in the United States. Watch this video to the end, and your perspective on America will completely change. Let's get started. Now, let's pause the hectic pace of life for a moment. Look at the moment these European tourists step into Redwood National Park.
Welcome to the home of the giants. This is Redwood National Park, which has the biggest trees in the world, including the single tallest tree on the planet. These are absolutely ginormous.
In the redwood forest, checking out the trees the most appropriate way. Up in them, mystery trail. Let's go.
The British tourist looked up at the sky, a bewildered expression on his face, exclaiming, "These trees are about 2,200 years old. They're even older than Christ." Did you see that expression? That's not just simple surprise. In psychology, it's called the awe effect, the feeling of being overwhelmed by greatness. When faced with something that far exceeds ordinary understanding, our brains automatically release dopamine, compelling us to remain silent and admire. For a European, this experience is like stepping through a time portal. Why? Because in Europe, the concept of a true primeval forest has almost disappeared for hundreds of years. The history of Europe is a story of conquest and exploitation. Since the Middle Ages, to build warships, make firewood, and expand cities, people have cut down most of the ancient forests. The forests in England or Germany that tourists see today are mostly regenerated or planned plantations. They are used to straight, orderly, and obedient rows of trees. So when they came to America and touched the trunk of the 2,200-year-old redwood tree, they were hit by a geographical culture shock. These giants sprouted before the fall of the Roman Empire, enduring thousands of wildfires and storms.
Do you know who I am?
No, I can't say that I do.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Really?
Oh, that's a big tree! Like the most baller forest I've ever seen in my life!
And here is a wow fact that few people know. An ancient redwood tree is not just a big tree, it is an entire vertical ecosystem. On the massive branches, 80 meters above the ground, over the centuries, decaying leaves have formed layers of soil weighing tons. At the top of that tree, there is a whole world of its own, with epiphytic plants, insects, and animals that have never set foot on the ground. You are looking at a city floating in the air. At this point, many of you might say, "Oh, America is lucky because it has a vast land and a sparse population." But the truth is not that simple. In the 19th century, when the flames of the Industrial Revolution ignited, capitalist greed in America was also extremely fierce. They once wanted to clear these forests to obtain wood for building houses. But America did something that later philosophers called the greatest idea of America, the creation of the National Park Service, NPS. They institutionalized the protection of nature, putting millions of acres of wilderness out of the reach of extraction corporations. The fact that British tourists today can stand here and breathe the air of 2,000 years ago is not a coincidence, but the result of a groundbreaking political vision from over a century ago. Hey guys, if the analysis just now gave you a fresh perspective, don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support is a great motivation for me to continue producing in-depth content like this. But you know, the pristine nature is not the only thing that shatters European tourists' dreams. When their car leaves the shade of the towering trees to venture onto the endless highways, they encounter a completely new concept, the concept of freedom made of concrete. How could the Americans lay smooth asphalt roads through the sheer, towering cliffs? Let's move on to the next part to decode the driving culture that has captivated the whole world. Come on, let's put the key in the ignition and hit the gas, everyone. We just left the ancient forests and headed straight to one of the most enchanting coastal roads on the planet, the Pacific Coast Highway and the legendary Bixby Bridge in Big Sur.
Are you filming the road?
Yeah.
Why?
We don't have this at home.
Are you filming the road?
Yeah.
Why?
We don't have this at home.
In Europe, people drive to go to work, go shopping, or from point A to point B. But when stepping onto these roads of America, suddenly driving is no longer just a means of transportation. It transforms into a journey of appreciating art. Many people say that Americans are car addicts, creating what is called car culture. But the truth is, it was the wild geography of America that forced them to invent ways to turn driving into a mesmerizing experience. And even traffic jams no longer bother them. Let's look at this interesting contrast. In Europe, most of the ancient roads were built during the Roman or medieval periods. Their main purpose is to connect the narrow villages and towns. The roads there weave and wind along the boundaries of private properties and historical sites. Completely opposite, the scenic byway and interstate system in the US is designed according to a different philosophy. Conquering and honoring nature. They carve through mountains, build bridges straight through sheer cliffs hanging over the ocean. And this is when the phenomenon of spatial psychology comes into play. In England or Germany, you can drive for just 2 hours and have crossed into another country, speaking a different language. But in America, British tourists are bewildered to realize they drive continuously for 8 hours and still haven't left the state of California. That vast geographical scale completely changes people's mindset. The American concept of freedom is not found in empty words, but it is concretized right under your wheels. Just fill up the gas tank, turn on the music, and in front of you lies 3,000 miles of road without a barrier. However, behind the romantic experience that travelers enjoy lies an extremely costly civil engineering challenge. Laying a smooth asphalt road over a geologically unstable area like Big Sur or building the Golden Gate Bridge amidst fog and sea winds is a remarkable feat of American engineering. They do not destroy the landscape, but instead find ways to harmonize artificial structures amidst the ferocity of Mother Nature. Hearing this, do you crave the feeling of tearing through the wind while driving on this road just once? If so, give it a like right away to make that trip a reality soon. And remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next eye-opening and ear-catching analysis. But if you think America is just about green forests and romantic coastlines, you're completely mistaken. Just a few hundred miles inland, the scenery will change dramatically, leaving European tourists speechless. They were startled, thinking that their car had accidentally time-traveled and landed. Mars! Which parallel planets are waiting for them in the strange desert? Let's find out together right now. If in the previous part, our eyes were completely immersed in the green hues of the ancient forests and the sea, then congratulations to you. We have just landed a direct flight to another planet. Look at the expression of this British tourist when they just set foot in Sedona and Lake Diablo.
This lake has to have the craziest colour of any water I've ever seen, apart from maybe Grinnell Lake in Glacier National Park, but this is a lot bigger. This is Diablo Lake in the North Cascades, and have a look at this. Look at the colour of that. That looks out of this world. I remember this was the first ever thing out of the whole itinerary that we added to our plan because it genuinely just didn't even look from this planet.
I swear to you, if you didn't say this is America, many people would think this is the filming location for some Dune or Star Wars movie. European tourists who come here can only exclaim, "What's happening with the geography here?" There really isn't any filter or camera effect here. Everything is 100% genuine from Mother Nature. Let me immediately clarify the question about Diablo Lake for that British tourist friend. That emerald green color, like mist and smoke, is due to a fascinating scientific phenomenon. The glaciers, when grinding down mountain rocks, create an extremely fine powder called glacial flour sediment. When flowing into the lake, these suspended powder particles reflect sunlight, creating a unique blue band that the naked eye can see. But the bigger question is, why does America, on the same continental strip, possess so many bizarre microclimates? Just a few hundred miles, and you will travel from the snow-covered icy region of Grand Teton, through the awe-inspiring primordial canyons of Zion, and then straight into the sacred red rock land of Sedona or the Joshua Tree Desert with its bizarrely shaped cacti. The reason is that North America sits on a massive geological plate with extremely sharp variations in elevation and terrain. Europe has cultural diversity, but in terms of geological shaping, the American continent is truly a wild laboratory of nature. And do you know what the most interesting thing is? It is this extraterrestrial geological diversity that has shaped the extremely diverse personalities of the American residents in each region. For example, in Sedona, the mystical red rock landscape has transformed this place into a spiritual sanctuary where people come to heal, meditate, and recharge their energy. Meanwhile, the residents of the harsh desert have forged resilience, generosity, and a readiness to survive. Each mountain, each desert region creates a completely distinct microculture. If you find this geographical and social knowledge interesting, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Please click the notification bell so we can continue to explore the surprising and mind-blowing discoveries together in the next videos. However, those majestic natural landscapes or magnificent parallel planets are still not the most astonishing things for European tourists. What truly shatters all prejudices and negative perceptions that the media has built up over decades lies in a very simple factor. The people in small towns. What happened when two Englishmen got lost in a tiny town during a snowstorm? Let's move on to part 4 to touch the true heart of America. After the breathtakingly majestic scenes of mountains and ancient forests, I want to take a moment to pause with you. Because this next footage doesn't feature any million-dollar landmarks, but it contains a power that can melt any proud heart. Two British tourists in Port Orford shared their emotions. We pulled into a small supermarket to seek shelter, and the store owner happily allowed us to park overnight for free and use the restroom. A local even pulled over to warn us that the storm was about to intensify. Everyone is so kind and hospitable. Can you feel the emotion in their eyes? Imagine, you are two foreigners driving a strange car into a tiny coastal town in the midst of an 85 miles per hour windstorm. Instead of being shunned or chased away, you receive completely free shelter and heartfelt safe travels wishes from strangers. That is the moment when prejudice is completely shattered by human kindness. To be honest with you, for decades, entertainment, media, and Hollywood cinema have inadvertently portrayed small towns, small town America, according to a very one-sided stereotype. In movies, remote rural areas are often depicted as strange, mysterious, or unfriendly to outsiders. Europeans watch many such movies, so when they come here, they inevitably have some apprehension in their hearts. But what about real life? It's completely the opposite. In small towns like Port Orford or along the rural areas of America, the sense of community is what reigns supreme. Here, there is an unspoken social norm. When someone faces hardship or disaster, you help them not for money or publicity, but simply because it's the right thing to do. That's why the culture of allowing RV travelers to camp overnight in Walmart, parking lots, or local supermarkets exists so naturally. Americans in rural areas have a very distinctive generosity, openness, and hospitality, a culture of mutual assistance and kinship nurtured over hundreds of years of expansion. Many people think that New York or Los Angeles represents America. But if you ask me, I would say, those major metropolises are the centers of finance and entertainment. while the small towns are the backbone that preserves the true identity and soul of this nation. Here, you don't see the hustle, the crowding, or the cold industrialization. You see family-run grocery stores passed down through 3 generations, where the owners remember each customer and are ready to chat for an hour. It was that sincerity that turned a night of storm avoidance, filled with fear for the British tourists, into the most beautiful memory of the entire trip. This part really touches the emotions, doesn't it, everyone? If you also love the warmth of people in rural areas, please leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can continue spreading these humanistic perspectives. The warmth of humanity has healed their souls, but the disillusionment journey of the European friends has not stopped there. Because right in front of them was a colossal geological monster so immense that it made people clasp their hands in silence and shed tears of helplessness at its scale. What happened when they stood at the edge of the Grand Canyon? Let's reach the emotional climax of this entire trip together. And now, we have reached the emotional peak of the entire journey. Please look at the moment when this British tourist first steps to the edge of the Grand Canyon and gazes at Old Faithful in Yellowstone. An English tourist stood speechless at the edge of the Grand Canyon, eyes welling with tears, choked up and said, "I was really about to cry. No photo or video can prepare you mentally for this scene. It's too vast, too deep, my brain can't handle it. Do you see it?" An adult, seasoned, who has traveled to many places around the world, but the moment they stand at the edge of that abyss, they go silent and shed tears. Not because they are weak, but because they have just collided with an immense power of the universe. In psychology, this phenomenon is explained very clearly. When humans face a space that exceeds the immediate information processing capacity of the visual system and the brain, the psychological defense mechanisms will completely collapse. All words become meaningless, and the only natural reaction of the body is shivering or shedding tears. Look back at Europe. Europeans take pride in the depth of history created by humans. The ancient 1,000-year-old castles, the towering Gothic cathedrals, or the Roman-era monuments. They are used to measuring beauty by the marks of human civilization, but when they step into the Grand Canyon or Yellowstone, they are struck by something called the architecture of the earth. These canyons were not built by bricks or human hands, but carved by the flow of the Colorado River over tens of millions of years, cutting through each layer of the Earth's geology. Standing before that grandeur, even the most magnificent architectural works of humanity suddenly seem pitifully small. Many people often sarcastically say that American pop culture is somewhat superficial or lacking in depth. But British tourists after this trip had to admit, the depth of America does not lie in the pages of handwritten history books, but is etched into the very earth, into the endless wild canyons. Standing before the Grand Canyon, all boundaries of nationality, race, social status, or the thickness of one's wallet disappear. All that remains of us are small beings, humble in the face of the greatness of Mother Nature. That is a lesson in humility that no school can teach better. If the footage just now truly touched your emotions and made you want to grab your backpack and explore the world, give this video a like. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to continue unraveling inspiring cultural and social stories with me in the next videos. So, the RV of the European friends has traveled thousands of miles, from ancient forests, through treacherous mountain passes, to warm little towns and deep abysses. They came to America with the expectation of finding skyscraper cities, but when they returned, the only thing that remained in their hearts were the wild skies. In the end, how did this trip completely change their preconceived notions about the American dream? Let's move on to the conclusion to summarize this valuable geography lesson. So, the journey of thousands of miles across America by the European friends has come to an end. Looking back on the entire experience, we realize an interesting truth. America has never been confined to the skyscrapers of New York, the glamour of Los Angeles, or the neon lights of Las Vegas. It turns out that what is called the American dream is not just a dream of wealth or industrial urbanization. The true American dream for travelers lies in the free-spiritedness on endless roads, in the majestic stillness of the 1,000-year-old sequoia giants, and in the open-hearted, sincere nature of the people in small towns along the way. That is a completely different aspect of America that one would never reach just by watching Hollywood movies. After all, This trip gives us a beautiful philosophical lesson about travel. We pack our backpacks and go not to seek evidence that confirms the preconceived notions in our heads. Travel is to allow oneself to be surprised, to be shocked, and to completely change one's perspective. European tourists initially came to America with skepticism and expectations of a concrete and steel urban replica. But when they returned, what they brought back in their luggage was not designer bags or shopping souvenirs, but a heart beating in sync with the wild rhythm of nature. They realized that America is much greater and deeper than what the media had ever portrayed. At this point, I would really like to hear your opinions. Hypothetically, if you had the opportunity to take a road trip across America, would you choose to immerse yourself in the bustling, modern atmosphere of the megacities, or would you prefer to be enveloped by the tranquility and grandeur of the national parks? Among the attractions we just passed, which one made you exclaim, "Wow," and want to visit the most? Please type your answer in the comment section below so we can discuss it together. And as usual, the analysis content in the video is entirely based on an objective, cultural, societal perspective, not intended to attack or promote any individual or organization. If you find this video brings you moments of relaxation and interesting knowledge, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell. Your support is a tremendous source of energy that helps me continue to release high-quality videos. Thank you all so much for staying with me until the very last second. See you all in the next decoding journey. Bye-bye.